going to... Oh, look. Oh, the recording noise is about to begin. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Heroes World Quarantine Podcast. I'm your host, Dupe. With me, as always, is the owner and, well, one of the owners and proprietors of Heroes World. That'd be John. Say hello.
Howdy, folks.
Of course, our resident prince of mischief, Mr. Rob Cadet.
Howdy, folks.
Oh, there we go. Thank you all for joining us today as we review What If episode 2. Do we have a title for it? It's John. I rely on you for this, and I also put you.
I didn't know I was supposed to grab this. Hold on.
There we go.
Is it just called What If TChalla Became a Star-Lord?
You're like,
yes,
hey,
yes. I think that's Look at that.
Cool. All right,
so
John.
Look we could guess
John
that.
Grabbing it out of his ass, going, "Look what I have."
Yeah. So I think
that.
I think the summary is that simple. What if T'Challa became Star-Lord? That's it. That's great. All right. So this is a full spoiler review. It's been out since Wednesday. Today is Sunday, so we're just not holding back. John, what did you like? What did you dislike about this episode?
Yeah, it's a short episode, so you definitely all should watch it. So I wasn't here for the first What If episode, but I am enjoying the series so far. So I really like the this animation. This, you guys spoke about it a little bit before. It's kind of like a 3D but made to look 2D. 2D. So and it's kind of like the cell shaded animation. I was trying to figure out exactly how they do it, but it's not really clear. So we're gonna have to wait for some type of behind the scenes featurette. So it looks really good. And the characters are rendered such that they're not exact replicas of their movie counterparts. So they've kind of like infused a little bit of comic book flavor to them, like the Chadwick Boseman or T'Challa doesn't look exactly like him. It's kind of like a version of him. So I think that's nice. This episode in particular was very, very vibrant, very colorful. So I don't know if the styles are gonna change
potentially
throughout the episodes. Yeah, but I really liked how this one looked. Like when you're watching it, if you have a nice screen and the colors really, really pop, especially when you see Nebula walking around with that shock of yellow hair and stuff like that. So I really like that. And I'm just going to quickly mention my 3 favorite things of this episode. There's so many things to like, obviously. But my free, man, it's early in the morning. Sorry, folks. I can't talk it, nor have I ever been able to talk. So I'm learning. First thing would be in no particular order. The Wakanda ship music sound cue. So when he's out stealing his stuff from the collector, all of a sudden he comes across the ship, and the whole episode you're like, oh, they've gotten past the Wakanda thing, it's not going to come up, and all of a sudden the music starts to like kicks in. Those I don't know if they're drum beats or whatever they are. And then he goes to the ship, and you're like, oh, cool, this is like a Superman Fortress of Solitude moment. That was really cool. And then he sees the costumes, all that kind of stuff. Next thing is Nebula with the blonde hair. I had no idea she was going to be in this episode, and she's one of my favorite characters from the Guardians. I don't know if I'm just a big fan of Karen Gillan or whatever, but I really liked her, and I actually really liked the hair. I don't know if it's a wig or if they were just like, oh, we're just gonna go with a different style and have her have hair. But I thought it looked really cool, and the color contrast between her blue skin and the blonde hair just did it for me. And then of course number 1 is the return of Chadwick Boseman as, I guess, his final performance as Black Panther. Man, it was good to hear him in the role, doing his thing. What a great representation of this character. So it's very, very sad for his loss, but his legacy is going to go on forever. So those are my 3 favorite things. Fee 5 things. Anyways, and then the things that I didn't really like, very, very, very few. So one thing is who's the guy who's like, is he Korath or something like that? Like, he's like, what is your name? And then he turns around to go Starlight. He's like, oh man, I think that guy was a little over the top. I think he needed to be turned down a couple dials. He was a little too funny, a little too.
Domshin Henshu. He's the actual original voice actor was in it, but I think it was just to juxtapose in the movie, because Andre touched upon it last time, was that when you replay the scenes together, he was like, I don't care who you are, like I don't know who you are, and this version, he's a fanboy. He's like, oh my god, I know who you. It's like the opposite of like, I've heard
it's cool. You're like, I get that they can throw in a joke, but throughout the whole episode, he's kind of like the same. He's just really over the top of it, but he is funny. He does have some funny moments, but I think he just needed to be dialed back a little bit, like minor criticism. And then they did kind of really shit on Peter Quill, but I don't know if there's any way around it. because they just made T'Challa like he turns Thanos, like he's like such a good Star-Lord that you kind of feel like Peter Quill is a POS, right? You know, it's kind of like
that's what he is. Like if you did you not watch Avengers? He screwed it up. Peter Quill, that's who he is. He's
a selfish asshole.
He's just a dude. 100%. No, you're not wrong, John. It's if you think about it, he's just a kid. T'Challa is a prince and was aimed to be a king. He had the best teachers and scholars. Basically like Batman. He's like, we're going to teach you everything. And then he went to space. Peter Quill is just a random kid. It's like, we're going to throw you the Ravengers. And he just basically did whatever he wanted to.
That's like, it's not really like something bad about the episode. It's just like a side effect of making T'Challa's Star-Lord so good that you make Peter Quill look so bad. So that, like, you know, it's not really a criticism, but it's just a funny observation, I guess. And that's my thoughts on the episode. I really enjoy it. I really like that this exists, and you've got a bunch of other questions that'll cover other things that
I think one of the things they talked to on several articles have mentioned is that when Chadwick was filming his lines, he was taking a lot of care, and all the directors were like, oh wow, you're really like going, and he really went in, and he's like, I didn't like this take, let's do it again, and really was very, you know, a little more, I guess, forceful and making sure this performance was exactly how he wanted it, and no one could figure out why. And then of course the news came out afterwards, but he took a lot of care, maybe realizing this might be his last performance. So it really everyone, the entire cast did an excellent job. I was very happy to see. Pretty much I think they stated the entire series is like 85% of their counterparts are back for the vocal roles, and obviously Drax, which apparently Batista, as we talked about before, didn't get the invite, so it is what it is.
So weird.
Rob, what are your thoughts?
It's hard for me to follow up on what John said, because he, despite stumbling through the English language, did a really good job.
Me English good.
I did really enjoy it. I didn't mind Korath and his absurdity and his geeking out at stuff. I thought that was actually kind of funny.
Just one notch down, I think.
I'm going to turn it one notch up higher. Then
you're going to go crazy.
Yeah. I thought he was kind of funny throughout the course. I mean, I was glad that it wasn't just a one and done kind of silly, fanboy moment of absurdity. It kind of carried it throughout the entire episode, right? Like he was the comic relief. Right. Which is so, again, as Stu just said, it juxtaposes how he was in the Guardians movies, right? Where he's an android or a cyborg, right? Like he's very straight-laced, very serious, and this is the complete opposite. So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really I was like, before I fired up the episode, I was wondering, how are they going to, why are we taking T'Challa and making him Star-Lord? And I always thought it was interesting they put, can he become a Star-Lord, not Star-Lord as the character, right? I mean, the title, having the A in front of that, for whatever reason, it always sticks out to me. And I was like, are they just taking characters and slotting them into other roles? But this one was kind of explained because it was just a stupid accident, right? They were supposed to get Peter Quill. They grabbed this kid by accident because they don't understand how to read maps or whatever it was, right? I think it was... Taserface.
They outsourced
it to Taserface.
They outsourced it to Taserface and Craggle
yeah.
They're like, oh well, there's like, oh, we'll just let those two guys do it, and then they're idiots. So that was
and when
Kraglin,
Kraglin, and then when Yondu was like, does he look like this? They're like, like it was like, it was just really funny. I mean, I thought, like, John again said it right. The colors in this, just, it's neon. Like, if you are a fan of neon, like, popping, this episode pops with color.
Watch it. Turn out your lights. Have your TV on. And everything. Like, it just looks beautiful.
I'm not advocating for anybody to do drugs, but if you did acid, you'd probably have a wicked trip. It's phenomenal how great it looks. It built upon what we had. It was, and actually it's very different than last week. If you go back and kind of, even if you didn't want to rewatch the first episode, if you watched a couple clips, or even if you wanted to be as lazy as me and just look at the actual title, the tile on Disney Plus of episode 1.
If you want to scroll past
you can actually just see the thumbnail and you can see the color difference. I mean, that was it was in World War II, right? And then you've got, you have this, like they're just so different. I really do believe, and I think John's right, we're going to have to wait for their featurette after this is all done. I'm dollars to donuts betting it's cell shading is how they're doing this.
Yeah.
I know Andre didn't think it would have been, or it could have been, but it's just way too fluid for hand drawn mixed with computer animation. Like it just looks.
I think it's 100% not hand drawn because they wanted to do 2D, but they could not have the time or money to afford it or something like that.
Yeah. So I'm fairly certain it's cell shaded. So overall, I'm not a big Howard the Duck fan. However, I was
Shout
happy
outs to Michelle.
I was happy to see Seth Green reprise his Howard the Duck, voice from Guardians 1 in that small little clip. And it was quite funny. The only thing two things that got me, one was the collector. I mean, it wasn't Benicio del Toro doing the voice, I don't believe. And also they gave him a massive power upgrade as if he was like,
he was jacked.
Yeah. He went to
it was
Connecticut
him.
school.
It was him.
Was it
I
really?
think it was him. Yeah. I think
it was him.
He went to the Connecticut
he's voice
school.
acting. Yeah.
But I was very surprised. He was ripped and was kind of a bit different than the character we had come to see in a couple of those movies. To be honest with you, I almost kind of expected. I know that we talk about juxtaposition of characters. However, the one nice thing about the collector in those movies is his eccentricities and his over the top jubilation, when he does his things with his hands and he's super excited. He does like the Ross and Rachel thing almost. Yeah. And he's super excited, and that you didn't get any of that. You got a very serious kind of collector. And I thought that, I was like, well, I'm not really sure if I'm down with that, but who the hell
if
am
you
I?
hang out with the Black Order 24/7, Rob, you would be very serious too. I think that's the thing.
And as much as I thought it was kind of fun, if funny, of Thanos kind of saying, "Hey, you showed me a better way," almost teeing up the fact that T'Challa might potentially be the smartest man in the universe. Right? I thought that was a little bit interesting. I did, though, have a bit of an issue with the gumshoe approach that they gave Thanos. Like he didn't have that presence of still being the Mad Titan. He was kind of a bit more goofy to me. Like he was kind of like a Drax replacement. Maybe they knew they couldn't get. Yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of like, I was a little bit just kind of like, well, like I get if you want to say, oh, you showed me a better way, but you still want to have a method of fear behind you. Like you still want to be imposing and be feared. And yet he was just like hanging out like one a broski. And so I was like,
I think it was just the way they set up was also because of the way that because Gamora wasn't here, but in terms of like setting that father-daughter, because already you've seen the strain in the movies where where Nebula doesn't get along with him at all, and they have this really difficult relationship. In this one, is that we got to make him more approachable so that when the time came when he's fighting off the Black Order, she comes in and saves him, and they're like back to having like a decent relationship.
Well, I even like the closing credits where she's like kind of like embarrassed by him and stuff like that. I thought that was cool.
Embarrassed by but as like a daughter would be just like a goofy dad, not like, oh, my dad's a murderer. And so it was a nice thing there. But
I'm not gonna lie, that last clip of Peter Quill closing out the Dairy Queen, washing the floors, and all of a sudden in walks Ego, his dad, as played by Kurt Russell. I was like, oh, I'm all like this. That for me was a super tee up. I was like, I'm down for that. And that also reaffirmed why I really like. John said that they're not really skewing much to the cinematic facial character. I think they actually are. I think they're doing as great a job as they possibly can. Like that looked like Kurt Russell, and that's why I'm like, it would not surprise me if he was on set in a jumpsuit and with a bunch of cameras on his face, right? Like. Yeah, he looked great. So at any rate, I'm really enjoying these things. I said this last week. It's kind of like, you can buy yourself an apple fritter and you eat one and you're like, that's great. Nobody wants to eat 2 or 3 apple fritters at once because you fucking kill yourself. But you eat one and then you can maybe next week you want to, grab a coffee and have an apple fritter. Like it's one and done. It's tasty. It's great. And you can move on to the next thing. So I'm really enjoying this series.
I think the analogy that John and I can live through is it's like a moon cake. Definitely, you can have a sliver of it, and if you
you can get with the egg yolks or not.
Double egg yolk, egg yolk. You can get like a sliver, like 1/8, and anything more than that, you're just in a coma. For those who don't know, mooncakes are something that's given out like once a year during.
We're gonna send Rob a mooncake.
It's like made of like sugar and lard, and it's like a very sweet, dense cake. It's very good, but like if you have too much of it. People have been known to eat like one mooncake and just pass out because essentially one mooncake equals out like 3 Big Macs. Like it's just the density and fat because they use a lot of lard, but it is Asian people love it. It's delicious, but yeah, a good mooncake can knock you out. So that would be the thing, and you can't have too much of it. It's or rich.
Yeah, literally,
it's
cake. It's usually a small square like this, Rob, and you usually cut like a teeny tiny sliver out for each person. Unless you're hardcore, you go the double egg.
Yeah, because also each mooncake is like a good mooncake this small is like $16, and if the bigger, like if you buy a set of 4, it's like $70 or $80.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's
all right.
It's Oh, okay. So there we go.
It's dense like the moon itself. Is that hence the name? Is that why? Yeah.
It's also the way they do. Anyway, we'll have a whole tutorial on mooncake.
What's happening here?
All
right. So we got your feelings too. Was there anything else you wanted?
No, we want to touch upon unanswered questions because we talk about this before with Andre too. It's like I really liked that this isn't one and done. I don't need to see any more. Let's move to the next universe and carry on. I think as much as I want to continue with the story, there is ramifications because if you looked in this universe, clearly there's no Thor and Captain America because when you saw the Collector, their weapons were in the cabinet. Yeah. So as much as like, I want to see this. Well, can you live in a world?
Just got their weapons somehow, right?
Black Widow probably killed them to take their weapons. I can't imagine that Thor's like, I'm gonna go ahead and take my hammer and I'll be cool with that. So it could, and also with Hela because he was wearing the helmet too. So Hela is gone,
and he did that thing where she puts it and she I thought that was really
so that's funny. When you were talking about the hands thing, he was also doing goofy things with that too. I was prepared for him to Vogue as well, like Madonna, but and then also he had the rock hand, which is I don't think it's Korg's hand, but it's some rock monster's hand nonetheless. John, what are some unanswered questions or what are things where you're like,
well, first of all, it's like why does Nebula have the hair even though I loved it? You're like, why did she choose to just have this
John's crushing on Nebula.
John, that might be her
I can't wait.
That might be her natural hair. You don't know.
There's a matching action figure, so I can't wait to get that figure.
I think Nebula and Tila from the new Revelations show. Come on now, John. There you go. It's your perfect
unlike your favorite Evil Lynn. But I think it's the main question I had is, I guess, why is the Black Order rolling with the Collector? I guess maybe. Like, I don't know if they answered that during the episode, if I missed it.
No, they didn't. No.
But they just seem to kind of show up and kick ass.
They just needed someone to like their henchmen.
Yeah, they just needed henchmen. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
they're just henchmen, and I think it's just a way to throw in big bads that are equal. Because I think when you have Thanos rolling with you, it's like, well, who can stop Thanos? You need to bring in, again, just to remind people how badass the Black Order is. So just a constant reminder is like, oh yeah, these are badasses, and you need someone like Thanos who can barely handle 2 of them on their own to show how powerful or how much effort the Avengers needed to take out them. So if they were just random people, I don't think they'd have enough gravitas as the Black Order. Because when they came in, you're like, you also don't have to explain the Black Order. Like, oh, I know who these people are. Like, everyone pretty much knows what they're doing. So I think it's just shorthand. And when you watch all these Marvel movies, when you watch this show, it's like, oh, I know all this stuff, which is great because then you don't have to explain who's the strong guy, who's the magic guy. Well, the Black Order, it's pretty much there.
Yeah,
they include the Maw, but Any other things, John or Rob?
No, I think we assume this is a direct replacement for Guardians of the Galaxy, much like the previous episode is a direct replacement for Captain America: First Avenger or whatever. Because it opens with the Star-Lord stealing the whatever that ball is, the silver ball thingy.
Well, that was
the Infinity Stone. You mean
Infinity Stone?
Yeah. Whatever it is. I'm just saying. So timeline. Even though we don't really need to slot this into where it takes place, but.
No, but you know what I will say. So as much as I say, oh, these are great one and done episodes, they completely are. I'm not holding out hope that there will be some type of connective thread. However, in this episode, more than episode 1, you did see, obviously with the ending, you know that it's teeing something up. And so it would be really interesting if each episode stands on its own merits, which I think it really needs to. I think each episode has to, have a beginning, middle, and end, and that's it. And you can consume that one episode and you're not beholden to see the other ones. But it'd be really cool if by the end of these 9 or 10 episodes, if something materializes in form, you start to realize that you're rewarded because this is leading into something else, maybe into next season or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of, and the problem is that you read all these different websites and these Twitter feeds, this and that, and supposedly this what if is tied to the multiverse that the MCU are going to be expanding on. So there will be, whatever happens here will have ties to this new multiverse that they're creating cinematically. I don't know if that's true or not, but it does it's kind of like planting little Easter eggs potentially for the future. And that kind of has me a little bit excited.
Thanks for not answering my question. My next
we did unanswered questions. Yeah, is there any unanswered questions? Yes.
Hey, what about someone who's not familiar with these movies? If they watch this, are they going to still be able to enjoy it?
100%, because it has nothing to do with anything else. And it, like we said before, this series rewards you for outside knowledge. It's kind of like how when Rob watches Star Wars, the new batch, is like, whatever, it is what it is. But for Andre and myself that watched, Rebels,
Bad Batch,
and all Bad Batch and everything else, we're rewarded by the little Easter eggs and characters that come along. Mm-hmm. This is now Rob's version of that, where if you've watched all the other Marvel shows, when you watch it, you're like, I get this. And it's the same type of experience that Andre and I had when watching Star Wars, when you watch Mandalorian. And for example, same thing, John, if you watch Rebels and then you watch Mandalorian, you're like, oh, here is this character from Rebels showing up in the Mandalorian, and there's another level of appreciation. But you can watch this on your own without any intrinsic knowledge of the Marvel universe. But if you do watch it and you do know it, it's an extra reward. It's the whole Easter egg hunt. You just know stuff and you don't have to fill in the blanks. As opposed to when we watch Mandalorian, both of you have to stop and go back to other stuff to see what's going on. That's pretty much what it is. But that's, anyone can watch it. Last question, as we on this subject at least, is that Rob kind of mentioned it before about potentially wrapping this into the MCU. But is this storyline, are these characters something that could they be just plopped into the normal MCU? Is this something that could be done in terms of characters, or in terms of storyline, or in terms of exiles? Like, is this something that could be rolled into it, or is this surely should be left alone in its own pocket universe? John?
Rob's already shaking his head, but I did kind of become attached to some of these characters in these versions in the what ifs. So even going back to episode 1, so if they can somehow incorporate it, that would be cool. But I am perfectly fine with it becoming its own universe, like you said. If they end up adding just a multiverse TV show, and this is like a whole like animated universe that exists alongside, like they have the cinematic universe, they have the comic universe, and now they have this animated, almost like a Justice League Unlimited kind of style setting. I'm perfectly
yeah, but I
fine
want
with
to
that.
ask this specific episode. Do you want
this specific?
yeah, that's my question. Like this episode, if T'Challa became a Star Lord, do you want this on its own?
No, I feel like I do want to see the regular gang from Guardians of the Galaxy again. I would not want them kind of reduxed into this. I still want to see their story unfold. There was no Rocket Raccoon in this, right? No, that stuff. Yeah,
you don't want to see Taserface just being there all the time.
No, that guy died, and rightfully so. So
rude.
Okay,
he betrayed them. So
well, that version of him, the other version seems like a cool guy.
Yeah.
Rob?
He effed up his one job.
Yeah, no.
John, when have you gone to the grocery store and bought the wrong thing? Have you not done that? You go to the grocery store, your wife is like, pick up this, and you picked up the wrong version of something, but you still picked up the right thing.
Sometimes it's on purpose because I don't want to wander.
John, I didn't want 2%
There
milk. I wanted skim milk.
John's like, oh, yeah, this is the thing. You picked up the wrong brand of like a salsa. You're like, oh, I wanted this. It's still salsa. That's a thing.
It's got spices in it.
Yeah, you picked up Old El Paso mild. She wanted Old El Paso spicy. This is the same. It's still salsa. Just take it. That's exactly what happened. Rob?
No, I don't want to see these characters. I think that they need to live within their pocket universe. I'm happy with that. You're asking you're asking a what if question. What if would it be cool? No. Also, I think, listen, we're humans are dumb. And I think if you start throwing new movies with these characters like this,
we get confused.
Yes, it would be way too confusing. I think if you can do it in a television show like Fringe, where you have people jumping from one parallel Earth to
and even that was complicated. Although
it did get a little bit complicated towards the end. You're like, wait, what am I dealing with? Walternate and this, like, it just became a bit. However, you could do it in a TV show because you're meant to watch week to week. Movies, I think it'd be way too confusing. That being said, I do foresee a situation where these 10 episodes, and maybe potentially, because we know there's a season 2 coming, that like a domino effect, we will end up getting like 1 or 2 characters at the end of this entire What If series that will be transplanted into the MCU. Going forward into, like, say, phase 5.
Yeah.
So they are always forward thinking. They're thinking into phases 6 and 7 right now. So they are always like, they've got a roadmap. So it would not surprise me if these, small little tidbits drop in.
Let me throw this out, John. Could it be a good Michael B. Jordan who comes up to be the new Black Panther from this What If? They're like, we can't replace Chadwick Boseman. He's Black Panther. Rest in peace, King. Could it be we need a new Black Panther? Michael B. Jordan, who's a good guy, and one of these pocket universes shows up. It's like, I'll be the new Black Panther, and boom, that's the key to a Black Panther. Would you be happy with Michael B. Jordan?
That was kind of one of my theories, because
no, it wasn't.
Did get to work with Chadwick, and maybe he would be okay with carrying on the legacy in honor of his, of his I don't know if you would call it coworker, friend, whatever. But yeah, I'd definitely be down for that. but like Rob said, I do really enjoy that this is its own separate thing right now, and that I don't have to watch other stuff. Like Andre did enjoy the last episode. I think he did enjoy this episode as well. So it's great that he's able to enjoy these and not have to worry about how it ties to the MCU that he is not quite a fan of, right? I think that's great.
Rob, do you think this is Disney's chance to throw in another Black Panther, whether it be another T'Challa, but not Chadwick? Because again, as much as we love Chadwick Boseman, and Kevin Feige's like, there will be no replacement now, but I don't think he said there will never be a replacement, because I don't think that's how Marvel operates. Like, it's going to be like Bond. There will be a new Tony Stark. There will be a new T'Challa. There will be a new Captain America. Is it just, how long is the wait period before you send in a new Black Panther?
Well, it's interesting because I thought that they did kind of make it pretty firm that there will never be another T'Challa. I could be wrong. It's a tough question, because I think as fans, we would probably be accepting of that if Michael B. Jordan, or maybe even another character altogether, comes in and is the new Black Panther. I think we would be accepting. I think where you're going to have difficulty is finding, and I don't know if Michael B. Jordan would do it. I think a lot of actors had a huge amount of respect for Chadwick Boseman, and I think that for them stepping into that role, I don't know if you would find somebody who would be who would really want to take on that. And that's a huge mantle. I think the reality is we're getting another Black Panther, and I think it's going to be Shuri in Black Panther 2. And I think that's the Black Panther that we are going to have for the next number of years. So will there be another T'Challa down the road? Yeah, potentially. But I to be honest with you, I'm hedging my bets that you're likely to see a new Tony Stark, a new Peter Quill, way before you see a new T'Challa.
What about Captain America?
I think you'll see a new Steve Rogers before you see a new T'Challa. I really do. I really think. I think if Chadwick Boseman had, we didn't have the tragedy that we had of losing him, and he, went through his contract and stepped down, or whatever the case may be. I think that's a whole different story. The fact that we didn't get that, they were this close to starting Black Panther 2 before he had passed. So, and had to rewrite everything that they had done and every plan that they had in going forward. So I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's just too raw. I think it's just, I just don't see Kevin Feige. He just seems, I just get the sense that it's not a priority for him to recast that role.
John, what do you give this rating out of 10? What's your rating?
I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, so I'd probably give it I want to give it a 9. What did you guys give the first episode? Did you guys have?
We didn't.
Didn't you watch the show, John?
I did. I did. I don't remember if we ranked it, gave it a number.
We
though.
did.
I don't know. Give it a number out of 10. I've watched it. I have to edit all that together for you. Yeah.
I gave it an 8.5. This is the first episode.
8.5. What do you rate episode 2, Rob?
I'm gonna give it a 9.
John, so you gave 9 for episode 2. What let's just ask you, and then episode 1. What are you rating episode 1?
Episode 1, I give maybe an 8. I did enjoy episode 1. The action was really good, I think.
Nonetheless, watch What if you're somehow watching this without it. But nonetheless, continue going. We look forward to the 7 more episodes. There's only 9 season 1 and 9 in season 2. So we'll be talking about this for a couple more weeks. Do you have a recommendation, John, for a comic that people should check out if they enjoy this episode of What If?
Yeah. Marvel actually already explored this territory in the 2018 series for Black Panther by Ta-Nehisi Coates and Daniel Kuna, where they expanded the whole Wakandan lore into space. So the series is titled, or the first trade paperback is titled, Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. So if you want to see Black Panther in space, check out that book. You can get the trade paperback and enjoy that. The art is just beautiful, and it is a very different setting for that character.
Rob?
I'm gonna go a little bit different. I'm gonna go based on the theory, on the idea of space and space adventures. Honestly,
underwater welder. Is that?
Yep, I'm actually going to go with Gideon
I have
Falls.
copies of Underwater Welder at the shop.
I'm gonna go with Gideon Falls about a black.
Nice.
No. I'm gonna go. We're talking about space adventures. To be honest with you, I personally think that DC does a better space event. Like, they tell stories, I think, much better in space than I think Marvel does. I think Marvel is a bit more grounded, even though I know you've got Asgard and everything else. And yes, Fantastic Four, whatever. I'm going with Green Lantern. I think if you go with the Jeff Johns Green Lantern run, we're talking like beautiful, that Ivan Reis art, Reis art, those splash pages that Johns had written out and that he drew are fantastic. And some of those big pages, and especially in the first few volumes after following the Green Lantern Rebirth, reminded me a little bit of this episode. Just how gorgeous and how vibrant every little thing was. You found yourself wanting to look at what was happening behind the scenes, not just the characters talking. So I'd go with that.
And not the Nova Corps, the GoBots of the police space.
Yeah, I was gonna say Annihilation is also another good recommendation.
Or the Venom Corps is also the bootleg of the bootleg of the bootleg. So
Space Venom,
the Space Venom Corps that you discovered that they're all.
It was a cool costume.
It's a cool concept too. If you didn't know that all the Venom symbiotes are on planet and they sent them all out to be like intergalactic peacekeepers, and sometimes they get warped and distorted, and thus Venom is created. But a lot of times they're they're sentient police officers that are out there saving the universe. But
it just sounds so too confusing. Remember when Venom was just like a space sludge on the side of the fucking shuttle? Like it was so simple.
That's still kind of confusing.
and then it went to and then it split up, and then Carnage, and then all the other symbionts, and then Symbiont Wars, and then Maxim Guard.
We didn't have any of that when I was a kid. When I was a young guy, it was just one.
When you
were a young guy, they just had the the Clone Saga, so it's a whole different situation.
Yeah, they had rocks and sticks in the dirt. That was
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
back when Rob was there, he just only knew one Nick Fury. His name was David Hasselhoff.
When I was a kid, we only had one Superman.
Yeah. All right. Where can people find you and stuff, John, on the interwebs and on the internet?
Yeah. So Heroes World Online is your key to all our online stuff. So the Instagram, the Facebook are most active right now. And on our YouTube channel, Heroes World Online, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We're throwing out a lot of content to see what you guys are down with. So definitely check that
every
out.
day but Saturday.
Yeah, every day but Saturday right now. So if you wanna start a show, let us know. And then in the realm of the desert of the real, I think Andre usually calls it. We are located on 8601 Warden Avenue in Markham, Ontario. The shop is open, and you can see our hours on the website, or you can use Google or Yelp or whatever. And come check us out. We got tons of stuff on the shelves, lots of good stuff to read, tons of restocks. So yeah, come check us out.
Rob, what's going on the Sidekick Show and others?
Let me just quickly say that I was actually in the store on Friday, and man, every time I go in there, it looks better and better. So you guys, it's looking great. Tons of toys in there, so you should go check it out. So yeah, on Monday, tomorrow, we are taking the Wayback Time Machine to 1998 and New Line Cinema's groundbreaking movie that helped finance the Lord of the Rings trilogy. We're talking Blade with Wesley Snipes.
Are those facts? Is that facts?
Yeah, it made enough money that it helped for them to be able to try to bankroll for the I mean, they had other movies as well that New Line used, but yes, Blade did have the amount of money they made off of Blade did help kind of continue their momentum towards Lord of the Rings. What if Blade made no money? There might not have been Lord of the Rings trilogy. But regardless, we are going and checking out Blade. I believe it is currently on Crave Television if you have the stars.
Yeah, if you got the full out Crave package.
Yeah. Yes, then you can watch it. Otherwise, there's a Stars extension on Amazon Prime, I think John has said. But John would also tell you what the hell you should be owning. If you're a fan of this show, you should have Blade already. So we are doing a review. We're going back and checking it out. Does it still hold up? Does Blade still maintain its position as the first quote unquote R-rated Marvel movie, even though that's not quite technically true? I think The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren was. So definitely join us tomorrow. I believe Stu will be there. And he's going to be talking about Stephen Dorff and Donal Logue chewing off his own stumpy hand. So you can definitely check us out there. And then on Thursday, John and I are back along with the Knuckleheads, Chris and Pat, and we do, hey, what did I miss? We talk about stuff throughout the week. So in terms of news stories. So, and you know what? Do us all a favor. If you haven't subscribed, do that. But hit the notification bell, because there may be a huge trailer drop happening this week, and you're going to want to get that notification when we do a review. So you're on your phone, your tablet, your computer, that notification bell is going to tell you when we've dropped our review of this new trailer coming out this week. Fingers crossed that it comes out. So that's all I'm going to say.
And social media, where can people find you, Rob?
On Instagram and Twitter at _905, all spelled out. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for joining us in our review of What If. We'll be back momentarily on the next review. If the shirt that Rob is wearing is a big indicator of what we're going to be talking about, there's your little bit of information. But we'll be talking about that in our next pod, which for you will be maybe next on the feed. If not, wait a bit and watch it, and we'll come back to it. We will, of course, be talking about a movie starring Ryan Reynolds, another Blade alumnus. So feel free to join us for that one after you've seen it. But anyways, have a great day. See you soon.
See ya.